friend of mine recently suggested that I talk about my conversion experience. And I thought that was an interesting request, and it got me to thinking. I don't know about a conversion experience. I think about converting. It just doesn't happen all at once, this spiritual journey. It doesn't. It just seems to move along. You know, in political science, we've got a theme about change is incremental in government. That government doesn't change all at once. It changes in little pieces. And I guess that's what my spiritual journey is like. It's incremental. It changes in little pieces. So let me share a little bit about what actually happened. You know, I was a sort of a token Methodist when I was young. I liked to sing a lot. I sang the male lead in our high school operetta and sang in lots of things. We had a barbershop quartet that I sang lead in. And so I really enjoyed singing. And our choir director, our music director at my high school was also the director of the choir at the Methodist Church. So I joined the Methodist Church so I could sing in the choir. But I would not say that I was some, really dyed-in-the-wool Methodist at all. I was just, it was a convenient thing to go to church and to sing. So anyway, off to college I went and got there, and I got my sophomore year. I moved off campus and moved into a house with a bunch of other guys, and they've read all the right books, the Unmasking of the Bible and all the rest of that stuff. And so I went into a little period of, agnosticism. I wouldn't say I was atheist, but I was probably an agnostic. I had a view of a very detached, remote God that really didn't have much to do with me at all. And so that's the way I was. And then I met this girl, and I liked her a lot. And heaven forbid she was Catholic, but that's all right. I didn't care that much about it. But anyway, she said I had to meet her father, so up to Bay City we went. And I met her dad, and he's a wonderful guy. He really was. In fact, I probably talked about him before because he was a big impact in my life. But one day when we went up there for a weekend, he said, there's an interesting program over at Dow Chemical. And there's a Jesuit priest from Notre Dame that's come up and he's going to give a talk up there. So he said, would you be interested in going? And I said, sure. I tried to keep an open mind and stuff. So we went there, and people were sitting there. It was one of those little lecture halls where the priest was down there with his blackboards, and he was a really good speaker, and he was really. He didn't try to just say, this is the way it is because I believe that's the way it is. He had a lot of data. He had a lot of facts. He just presented them all. And fact of the matter is, he sort of left me out in left field. I'm sitting there surrounded by all these PhD chemist types, and they're listening to him very intently. But I'll never forget at the end. He put those little three dots up there, and he said, therefore, God must be real. And I looked around at me, and I could see all these really bright people going, I think he's right, And that was enough for me. So that was I would call that my intellectual conversion. That I accepted God because it made sense. It really made sense. That, as I like to say about Einstein, that God doesn't leave everything to random chance. There's a reason for things. And got another very interesting email today from a group that I subscribe to, saying God is reality, and God is reality. I mean, that's the way it is. So that was my intellectual conversion. And I went along that way for a number of years. In fact, I would say probably 10, 15 years. As an intellectual Catholic, I went to church. I got baptized, went to church, and, did my thing. I really did. But it was, it wasn't tokenism, but it was not a wholehearted commitment. Although I did have some interesting things, like when the church finally started to go from Latin to English, or get the group to participate, get the parish members to participate in the Mass. I was the guy up there leading them, because I was pretty used to public speaking, and the priests that were at the parish liked me a lot, and I liked them. They were good guys. They're Holy Ghost fathers, and they were good guys. And I got up there and I led the congregation in responding to the Mass every Sunday in Latin, and I didn't even know how to speak Latin, but I learned enough. So anyway, that was my intellectual conversion, and it was good. It was really good. I was able to get married in the church and all kinds of other good stuff. But then, many years later, as I've told you before, my wife dragged me off to a marriage encounter weekend. And at that marriage encounter weekend, that's when I'll never forget. I still have my talks that I wrote after that weekend. God doesn't make junk. And that whole weekend just really hit me right between the eyes. And I can remember a couple days afterwards just being in sort of euphoria, like I was floating through a cloud. It was a whole different, the world just looked different to me. It just looked different. It felt different. And that, I think, was definitely my emotional conversion. I really fully accepted then. But that's not the end of the story, because there isn't an end to the story. I really don't believe that it's a one and done deal. I believe it's incremental. Every day I spend time in prayer and meditation. Every day I get new insights. Every day something new happens to me, some experience, some opportunity to practice patience, which I don't do very well. But I'm trying. And so, to me, it isn't about a conversion experience. It's about converting. It's about a lifetime of looking at and trying to gain a better understanding and a deeper relationship with God as I understand Him. And so, those are some of my thoughts about my conversion experience. Or, as I prefer to call it, my converting process. That's what it is. It's a converting process. And I pray that it continues every day until the last day I can take a breath. Because that's my relationship with God. It's progress. As we say in the program, it's progress, not perfection. So those are some of my thoughts. I hope they're worthwhile to you. And I hope they help you take a look at your own relationship to God and your spiritual journey.